Chicory: A Colorful Tale is one of my favorite games to come out in the past few years, and I think you need to play it. Yes, I'm talking about you. Don't click away. I just want to talk. Take a seat, relax. Whether you're a fan of 2D Zelda games and you're excited for Echoes of Wisdom, maybe looking for a similar type of game to hold you over, maybe you consider yourself a creative in any capacity, or you've ever dealt with imposter syndrome, or you're even just looking for a nice, short and sweet indie game. Just hear me out here. I'm here trying to sell you on this game, just like I'm here to sell you on liking and subscribing to the channel. I'm trying to reach 10k by the end of the year, and any support towards that goal would be greatly appreciated. Anyways, I want to start with Zelda. Chicory: A Colorful Tale is a 2D top-down adventure game in a similar style to A Link to the Past, Link's Awakening, or more relevantly, Echoes of Wisdom. I think what makes the Echoes of Wisdom comparison so strong is just how unorthodox the gameplay is compared to what you'd probably expect from the genre. Echoes has the echoes, which give you a completely different approach to combat and puzzle solving. Chicory has a paintbrush. There is no combat in this game, mostly, and your only real way to interact with the world is painting it. The world is essentially a blank coloring book, and every screen is a new page. On the surface, this may just seem a little novel and cute, but I assure you this game takes full advantage of its paint mechanic. In fact, I would say this is 100% the best game about the color being drained from the world where you are tasked with restoring it I've ever played. In all seriousness, it feels like every new area finds new and interesting ways to use the paint. Platforms that raise and lower depending if they're painted or unpainted. These plants that will fling your character across the screen. You can use paint to light up dark areas, you get the gist. Interacting with the world is not just coloring in a blank canvas, it's how you puzzle solve, platform, explore. The game feels so fresh in this way, as it feels like an entirely new way to engage with a top-down game like this, and I've never seen anything like it before or since. If you're excited for Echoes of Wisdom, I think Chicory is a perfect little pickup to hold you over. The game is really short. My first playthrough was about 7 to 8 hours, and my second playthrough that I recorded for this video was 5 to 6. If you want some more beef out of the game, you can 100% it by doing the side quests, finding all the clothing, brush styles, litter, and lost children. But if you just want a cozy, short, and sweet little indie experience, this game has also got you covered. Echoes of Wisdom is quite unconventional for the genre, and I believe Chicory is too, both pushing the ideas of what can be done in top-down 2D games. All while both having their own cutesy unique style. Zelda with the Link's Awakening toy vibe, and Chicory with its coloring book aesthetic. If you still aren't convinced or aren't a big Zelda fan, then let me talk about the game a little more deeply. I think if you consider yourself a creative in any capacity, whether it be drawing, painting, making music, writing, or even making shitty YouTube video essays, I think this game is a must play. One thing this game does exceptionally well is just encourage you to do things, which I know sounds kind of dumb in a video game, but beyond just progressing the main story, the game encourages you to create and engage with its coloring book aesthetic. Every new ability you get allows you to interact with the world in new ways. At one point, you unlock the ability to splatoon through your own paint, which gives you incentive to paint every screen so you can move around quicker. Sometimes you'll be asked to help draw something for an NPC. My favorite instance of this is at the beginning of the game where you're asked to design a t-shirt that you can wear. I drew SpongeBob, and later in the game you can find specific NPCs actually wearing your t-shirt as well, and they love it. The game often provides screens that are just begging to be drawn on, and as you explore the world you can find optional secrets that provide you with new brush styles that allow you to paint in new ways with patterns, stamps, or tools like straight lines or customized color palettes. I think one thing this game revels in is just the joy of making something. A lot of these things are entirely optional, but they're fun. It's like you're allowed to free draw if you want, or if you aren't sure what you want to draw, you can seek out optional quests that give you little prompts or pushes. What's nice about these pushes is they often never feel the same. Sometimes you have to design a t-shirt. Other times you're given starting shapes that you have to complete. Sometimes you aren't even painting, but you're creating music. I think one thing that often happens to creative people is just holding yourself to the highest standards. Everything you put out has to be bigger and better than the last. First and foremost, before you even release a creative project, you are your own greatest critic. But these standards, were not how you fell in love with being creative. At one point, being creative was just a fun thing to do, whether it be doodling a SpongeBob on your math homework or finger painting a rainbow that got hung on the fridge. These weren't things that you did to be judged, they were things that you did for fun. I think Chicory does a wonderful job of trying to evoke that feeling of what it meant to discover your own creativity. Little prompts and pushes that tell you it's okay to make something that might be bad, because making it and enjoying that process is the part that actually matters. This kind of leads into the final thing I want to talk about, and that is imposter syndrome. Yes, that Among Us in the thumbnail was not clickbait. At this point in the video, I will start to talk about some story stuff. I will start with some general plot, and then when I get into more late game spoiler stuff, I will put a separate spoiler warning. I'm going to put a timestamp to skip past all of that right here, and if you want to just get the general story synopsis, I will give a later warning before I talk about specific story points. We got it? Okay, so basically in this world there is no color by default, and the only person capable of rectifying that is known as the wielder, the one person who can use the magical paintbrush. Chicory is the current wielder, and you, a little dog named Lazonga, are her janitor. One day when you're cleaning up her storage room, the entire room loses all of its color, and then when you walk outside you realize everything lost its color. So when you go to check on Chicory to see what happened, you find the paintbrush outside and her locked in her room. So naturally, you pick up the most powerful object in this entire world and just start fucking around with it. I mean, at first it's exciting. It's something new and wildly different from what Lazonga is used to. But as you progress through the game, Lazonga starts to have a lot of self-doubt. I mean, the passing of the brush from wielder to wielder was a sacred tradition, and only the most talented artists would even be considered, and even then, only one could even get chosen. Lazonga essentially became a wielder by accident. Right place, right time. It's something even the player experiences through gameplay. You get to see Chicory's colors at the beginning of the game, intricate and expressive, and something that is genuinely impossible to recreate with the tools you're given. Your brush marks are blobby and messy, you're drawing with a mouse, or if you're on console, maybe even an analog stick? You only have access to a palette of 4 colors and you can't choose them, they're locked to specific areas. Even the most experienced artists are set up for failure here if their goal is to imitate what the past wielders have done. Sometimes you'll be tasked with recreating a drawing that was made with normal art tools, and I think it would probably be impossible to even task an exact replica with what you have here. Throughout the game, as Lazonga begins to struggle with the idea of, do I even deserve this? The player, regardless of artistic skill, can feel those doubts. You experience firsthand what it feels like to constantly be comparing yourself to others, or having to live up to an expectation. But the game itself never expresses any doubts, it encourages you through everything. When you make that shitty recreation of a cat, the characters will take turns praising you, pointing out certain details like your use of small accent colors, or where you decided to focus on the canvas. It may not actually be able to make legitimate criticisms of you, but the point is that you get feedback that encourages you, and points you towards what could be general good practice or what could be missing. Even the gameplay itself is encouraging you to doodle. I mean, certain interactable objects will fling paint around, explode in huge splotches. The game wants you to get messy here. I'm gonna get into some more specific story sections here, so if you want to play the game blind, skip ahead to this timestamp. There's this one section where you're climbing a mountain as a possible metaphor for anxiety, with music composed by Lena Raine in the background. Crazy, groundbreaking stuff, I know. What I like about this section as compared to the other game where you're climbing a mountain as a metaphor for anxiety with music composed by Lena Raine in the background is that climbing the mountain is not the hard part of Lazonga's struggle. I mean, climbing the mountain is hard and it's treacherous and all that, but when Lazonga gets to the top, you kind of expect it to calm down. I mean, that is usually the metaphor, that dealing with anxiety can be a huge climb. But Lazonga's anxiety isn't really based on their own internal struggles, but rather their own external struggles with how they feel they're perceived. Being on top of a mountain, on top of the world, is kind of the last thing a person with imposter syndrome wants to experience. Exposed and alone, nowhere to hide, above everyone else where you don't think you belong. This starts one of my favorite parts of the game, where Lazonga and Chicory have to sing a song at the top of the mountain. Neither of them know the words, so they're just going off certified vibes here. The song starts, and you get to play this cute little Osu minigame. Lazonga starts with expressing doubts early in the song. but with Chicory's help, the song starts to turn around towards how rather than worrying about how she is perceived, she can focus on trying to improve herself detached from that perception of others. I'm kind of paraphrasing here. I'm sure you can find a more in-depth literary analysis of this song out there, but I think at its core, this section is just really comforting towards the feeling that you don't deserve to create. I have thought about making YouTube videos since I was in elementary school. My friends and I would film skits on iMovie. I learned how to use more advanced software in middle school, and I'd written or started so many scripts that would never get spoken into a mic. It wasn't until this year, when I turned 23, that I finally decided to just start posting. Putting yourself out there is hard. There is already so much good stuff. Why should you bother if you're not even going to be half as good? It's because creating isn't about those other people. If you have an idea, you deserve and owe it to yourself to bring it to life. It doesn't matter if you don't feel like you're ready, you'll never be 100% ready. And the best way to improve is just to keep doing it, putting it out there and learning from your last attempt. I mean, the difference between my first video and my most recent videos is like night and day, and I wouldn't have gotten to where I am if I didn't take a first step. Creating is a process about improving yourself, and Chicory, for me, was a much needed reminder of that. I hope that any of my rambling or gushing about this game came across as coherent. Again, this is easily my top 3 games I've ever played, and I think I just played it at a time where it was really able to resonate with me. I hope you all give Chicory a shot. I think it's genuinely a one-of-a-kind experience in gaming. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like, subscribe, send it to someone who you think should play this game, and I will hopefully see you guys in my next video.